Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Killer Collab Podcast. As always, my name is Tone Dad from Florida, and joining me is Chris Lato from Reaper Films.
Howdy, howdy.
Yeah, good morning. And we have a returning special guest, Mace Walker. How are we doing this morning?
Doing great. How are you guys?
Doing wonderful, wonderful. Now, you had visited us recently in the past. Our first returning guest, hopefully first of many.
Am I really?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Thank
we
you.
like you that much.
The recycle. So apparently, now we're going to do a little follow up on your recent release of Triggered. I know we were promoting it on the show last time. What stages are you in now?
Right now I have about probably like 4 to 5 weeks left to like get it finalized before submitting it. So my assistant and I are basically just working on the color grade. And we're trying to license some of the music that's in there.
Yeah.
I went through a lot of Spotify like indie aesthetic like playlists and found some artists that I thought would work with the film. And then when I screened it with copyrighted music because it was private and it's not actually going to be screened like that. But people were saying, you're going to have to replace it with like some free shit or whatever, which is like, obviously like that's a good idea. Like you can make something great with that. But I was just so attached to this music that I was like, why don't I just try and just ask them like, hey, what would you take for it? Yeah. And so I emailed one of them. I emailed a few of them, but one of them actually, her manager got back to me because it's in this scene that I like. If I didn't have any of the other songs, like this is the song that I need because I feel like this is the best scene in the film. And so I just told her that because another one of the artists that I really, really want his stuff so bad, but his manager told me that the lowest they could go would be $7,000 per song.
Oh man!
And I'm like, shit. Like,
what band was that?
What?
What band was that?
It's called Teen Days. It's just one person, and he takes nature, like sounds of nature, and then combines them with music, and it's really eerie, and like you could just hear like birds in the background and crickets, and it's just really, I love it, and it goes really well with a lot of the scenes because I didn't like.
He probably doesn't make $7,000 a year.
I know, because like this is stuff that's like, this is like weird music that like maybe you could vibe to if you're like tripping on acid or something, but it's nothing like a real band. This guy's got like a keyboard, and I almost feel like I should try again because maybe they're trying to get more money out of me, and then I just need to establish that.
This is my budget.
Okay, I'll give you $100 in a sweet tart.
That was going back and forth, and then his agent was like, well, he's under a contract where he can't take any less, and I was like, is that because I feel like I can negotiate that. But the other artist that I love her. The song that I have in the scene that I think could get me into a big festival. Like, I think the scene could be it for me if I do go somewhere big. Her manager got back to me, and then she was interested in it, and I told her that my budget would be like pretty low. I was like no more than like probably a couple $100, honestly.
I wouldn't even say that. I was like, I'll shout out your name in the movie.
We could do that. And then she said she got back with me, and then she was like, "Oh, well, are you going to distribute it? What's the plan for the film?" So she's like, she's basically like, "What's in it for us?" So I was like, "Well, if we go to a top tier festival, people see her music and they like her music, she could get better connections, and maybe she could score some films." So that's kind of like what I said. I'm still learning how to negotiate with people and not come off like insecure, because I feel like before when I would ask people for things, it'd be like, "Oh, I'm just a little girl who's trying to make movies. Please help," and that just looked really like you need to look more confident in your work, or they're not gonna trust you. They're not even gonna fuck with you at that point. So I'm in the process of trying to work with her on licensing it right now. Yeah. So
well, sometimes with movies and shows, you have to like show them like a copy of the movie or show.
I sent her the scene, and I haven't heard back yet. But it's been like 4 days. But she suggested that she would send me a quote, and then she got two of the other like managers who, I don't know how it works with music, but on board, and then they were like, we're all in this group email. But it's making me a little nervous because I haven't heard anything back, and the scene is like a little weird because it's like a scene with like not real nudity, I wish, but like obviously it was like I have a minor in there, and I would never shoot anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's basically just her in like the shower, and it's just this weird like trippy scene, but it's not like sexualized or anything. But I think that maybe they would, if they were turned off by anything, it would be that. But
I mean, but
I
you have
don't
that
know.
like almost every movie. Like, I mean, I in every movie, I think there's someone like in a shower or half
Yeah.
naked or bra and
I mean, that's why I
panties
originally
or-
was gonna cast her role to be like 18 or older, because I did want to show, like, I didn't want, I guess I didn't want to show it necessarily, but it was more so like I didn't want to have to like go around and like try and block it so that
Yeah.
it would be difficult and come off awkward.
Yeah.
But we shot it in a way that like the shower was like the
Silhouette.
smoke or whatever. What am I? Not the smoke. God, what I'm trying. The condensation on the glass,
Yeah.
like kind of hit all that, and she had like a nude like bikini on, and so it looked
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm waiting to hear back. Hopefully she likes it. If not, I'm gonna cry, but I'll find something
Oh.
better, you know.
Well, yeah.
Can't
I
cry
mean,
about that.
yeah, definitely. Out of everything, you don't cry about that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit, we didn't get a damn
Right.
song. But
It's just
after all,
best. It's just best usually to get permission from the bands beforehand,
Right,
or
right.
find somebody to score your movie.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm doing with
um,
my next project. Is trying to get that before.
I mean, getting licensing on our level is like
yeah.
near impossible.
Yeah, even when for YouTube, I have to go through a whole bunch of licensing to do any music. For,
Yeah.
Like any of my other videos, like I literally have to go get their licenses, or or I have to use like non-licensed music, and it's just terrible.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
I edited a lot of the movie to like the beat of music though, and so that's why I was so sold on these songs, because I listened to these songs when I edited. So like
Yeah.
there's like, for example, like when she gets out of the shower, and then she drops her towel, like there's a break like in the song, like it stops, the towel drops, and then it picks back up and cuts the next shot, and it looks almost like a music video type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I really wanted to get that song. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, music is very touch and go because you just never know. I know I worked in the music industry for probably like 7 years actually. When I was on the radio, and I dealt with a lot of executives and producers, like they just don't want to let their music go unless it's like a big Hollywood movie, or
Right.
like they're gonna get royalties, and it's really.
I understand that too, because it's personal, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah, they spend as much time on their music than we do, like on just our films,
Yeah.
and scripts, and
Right.
like just in general, like their art, like just how perfect like mastering a song is, how long that take is probably the amount of time it takes us to shoot an entire movie. Like that's literally how difficult it is just to master a song. So I mean, I understand why
Yeah.
they want to charge, or like they want fruits of their labor. At that point,
Yeah, of course.
Same thing as us. But like we want to get paid for
They
the
don't
hard
want to
work
just
that we do.
like donate, and then especially
Yeah.
like if they don't like their song being associated with your content, or they just
Yeah.
that's not the meaning of the song and you're interpreting it
Everybody's
differently.
different though.
Yeah,
Like if somebody asked me, "Hey, we want to use your movie for something," I'd be like, "Okay,
Yeah. Well, you're chill.
yeah.
cool, do it."
Oh man! So that one song that you're trying to get, and then how many songs do you have to get licensed?
Well, hypothetically speaking, if I did go for all of them, which I can't, I don't have time. Probably like 10. But a lot of these artists, the reason that I feel like it's possible is what I do is I look for people on Instagram. I spend a lot of time on social media, not really posting, but looking for who is starting to take off. And I message them and try and keep them in the loop and stuff. Because if I see that they're getting a lot of views, or they're starting to collaborate with people who are higher than them, then I like to build like a personal relationship with them.
Yeah.
For example, I did this with a makeup artist like a year ago. Her name's Michaela Jane, and she had like 2,000 followers. She was getting bullied a lot on Instagram because she was like 22. She worked at Ulta Beauty, and like people were just making fun of her because she was making all these TikToks and stuff. And she was talking about her depression on her story. And I seen that one of her TikTok videos was starting to go viral. And so I messaged her and I was like, hey, just sit tight. You're probably going to be famous in the next few months. And she's like, I hope. And then I told her a little bit about what I do. I'm a filmmaker. I was like, I feel you. You're young like me. You're just trying to make it or whatever. And now she just did like a collab with this huge brand called Glamlight. And she's working with these celebrities. She's got millions of followers on Instagram. She's like living in like some other state now in this big apartment. And yeah, it's crazy. It's like she's actually like a celebrity now.
Yeah, you never know. You never
Like
know.
it's crazy. Like
I got a cool story. So I shot a movie. I think it was 2000. Was it a 15 or 16? Up in Georgia, and they needed a DP, and someone mentioned me to the guy and contacted me, and I ended up shooting the movie. And it was a short. It was like a 30-minute short. And the director and producer had met a musician after a concert in Atlanta, and he was talking to him, and he said, I got a movie coming up. I would love to have some of your music in my movie. The guy's like, yeah, absolutely. So he basically wrote him a contract, let him use like 3 songs from the album. And while we were shooting the movie, like this was like months before we even started shooting, while we were shooting the movie, the guy's song went #1 on the Billboard for weeks. It was Hosier.
That's
you know
crazy.
Hosier?
I know the name. I don't know who it is though.
Yeah.
What's the song again?
Take Me to Church.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that one.
So
Yeah,
the guy
that's
got to
right.
use Hosier's music for his movie.
That's
like
insane.
amazing. And
That's
it was
crazy.
before he even blew up. He was
Yeah.
just like a little independent musician in Atlanta, and he just happened to go to a show and met him, and he was like, I really like your music. I'd love to. I mean, it'd be perfect.
Right.
And so we got like 3 songs for the movie, and it just makes the movie. Like it takes it to another level. The music that's in this movie, and
Oh yeah.
it's pretty awesome.
That's nice.
But if he had met the guy months later, no way.
Did he write that song for the movie, or he already?
He already. It was all. Yeah, he had an album out already.
Yeah.
It wasn't out yet, but he was performing the songs from the album.
Yeah.
And I don't know how the guy ended up going to the concert or whatever. It was just like a small indie concert, and he.
I love those
kind
of concerts.
Yeah, he talked to the guy after the show, and
wow. Yeah.
let him
It's
use
amazing
his
how
music.
things
For
just
free.
happen like that. Yeah,
He
that's
got
nuts.
free.
Wow.
That's
Crazy.
nuts.
And then while we're shooting, that song was like all over the freaking radio, like nonstop. No matter what channel you put on.
Yeah,
it was
I
on.
remember that.
And
Oh,
just
yeah.
amazing story. But that's just dumb luck.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like you never know where it's
Right.
gonna strike. Like, it could be literally lightning in a bottle anywhere.
Mhm.
Like you could
One
be-
thing you should do is, when I first started shooting, I would shoot movies here and there, but I shot a lot of music videos, like
Yeah.
tons of music videos.
Mhm.
they're fun too.
And I mean, I'd say 80% of them were rap videos. But I have all these musicians now that if I need a song, I can say, hey, man, I need a song for my movie.
That's a good
and then
idea.
they can either give me one or make one or whatever.
Yeah, but what movie you can use a rap song on?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, Crazy Lake has a movie by Justin James, who I did like 3 or 4 videos for.
Oh.
And it's in one of the scenes.
Oh, nice. Oh, there you go. The
Um,
more you know.
Yeah. So there's always places you could put it.
Well, yeah, but I don't. I mean, any movie.
You don't really do a lot of, like, when you, like, doesn't seem like there's a lot of indie rock bands or alternative bands that like do music videos. I don't know why, or maybe I'm just not looking in the right place.
Yeah, I mean, I worked with a music studio down in. Actually, they're in Seminole now. I was working with them. I was doing live concerts, live streaming, and they do a lot of original music with like indie bands and everything. I mean, a lot of bands that do a lot of covers, but there are also bands that do original music. I was actually thinking about doing some more with them, but it's been a while, like, since I've worked with them. But they do a lot of independent music there, and so there are bands out there. It's just they don't know how to market themselves.
I mean, I probably did 100 music videos, and I'd say 80 of them were rap.
Yeah.
I did a couple country. I did a few Christian
There you go.
music.
Did you find
A
Jesus?
couple rock band, metal. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't see you wearing a cross. Did you
No.
repent? No?
I did repent.
You did. Oh boy.
So you got a new movie coming up.
Mhm.
You haven't released the title yet?
I haven't.
Now, did you write this movie?
I did.
Okay.
What kind of movie is it, Mace?
It's a psychological thriller, which is
Oh, I thought you said it was horror.
it's like a horror. It's kind of like a horror.
Just
I'm
say horror to
advertising
make
it
me
as
happy.
horror because everyone's like so excited to do a horror film, and like I've always had issues. I think getting people, I guess, on board with Triggered and other little stuff I've done is because I've always like tried to find like I've always gone for like something really controversial, and I think
Yeah.
it started out as a way to get attention, but then it just turned into like that's just kind of like what I like to do because I have my own opinions about things. I like to share them. But a lot of people were kind of like, all right, I don't know if I want to like go and cross the line there and like make a film about kids shooting kids, like that's a little
Yeah,
much. So I'm like, what can I do that will get people involved, you know?
What's funny is when I first started making movies, I was like very ambitious. Like my first movie, we had
always
probably
in the
like
beginning.
15 locations. My second movie had 19 locations.
Yeah.
And
It goes down as you
I
keep
would
going.
whenever I was trying to get
Yeah.
a location, the owner would always ask me, "What kind of movie is it?"
Yeah.
I would never say horror because it turns everybody off.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So you saying psychological thriller is actually brilliant because I would always say, "Oh, it's a thriller." I would never say horror.
Just don't market it like that because
Yeah.
Chris won't watch it because it's
Yeah, and then I
psychological.
won't watch it. I like psychological horror.
Well, what triggered, I would say, it was bullying drama PSA, and schools would be like, "Oh, okay," and then it's like, "Just kidding," but
We kill motherfuckers.
you don't want to like disclose, you know, like I think I said this last time, but when we did the massacre scene, like the owner, I forgot to tell the owner it was a massacre scene because I didn't think he would rent it to me, this wedding venue, if I told him that it was going to be this crazy bloody mess. And like I had insurance, so I was like, hey, if we, you know, fuck up the floor, you know, better to ask for, you know, forgiveness and whatever. But
yeah.
I did it, and like I didn't even realize till the end that like I never told him still after the scene, and then he was just there, and I was like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, and he's like, no, you're good. So I mean, that's pretty rare though. Like most people would have an issue with that. So
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, definitely gonna call it a psychological thriller. But I already have most of the locations because we're shooting it in the town that my dad grew up in, Troy, North Carolina. And the reason that I chose it was because I wanted a change of scenery, and then like the weather here, like we're shooting outdoor scenes. Like I've had people get really hot on my sets, and
Oh yeah.
it just makes me look bad because I have people that get sick and all that, and I don't want to look like I can't take care of my team. But
Yeah,
also,
Chris, take notes.
there's not a lot of. I was looking into it in North Carolina. They said that there's been like just over 1,000 productions in the past like 38 years.
Well, I
and
know
they're,
Asheville is kind of booming.
Yeah, it is. It's so expensive there right now.
Yeah, Asheville. There's a lot of stuff going on there. I'm actually in a Asheville filmmaker group that I've been in for years, and they do a lot of stuff. A lot of small budget stuff. So, what's the movie about? If you don't want to tell us.
I can say what it's about. I like to, I guess the common theme with everything I write, I've noticed, has been some form of obsession. So this one is about a mother and her family. So basically, I feel like with my family and I feel like I'm kind of like the oddball, and I feel like a lot of my family, like we don't support each other the way that we should. I feel like everything just seems really fake or sugar coated, and we have all these like family events and everything, and then it just seems like as soon as everyone leaves, it's like, who can we talk shit about now? Or this person's here, Mace isn't in college yet. It's just always some bullshit, you know. And on my dad's side too, the same thing. My dad's getting a divorce right now from his wife, and like when they were all together, her family and everything, it was just kind of like the most perfect. Like, I don't know, we have like barbecues and all this shit, and like and take family photos, and then everything just feels so they felt so fabricated, and it felt so toxic, and I was like, it's almost like creepy because everything looks so good on the outside, and you just don't know.
A lot of families like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people have that, and so I'm like I'm gonna write about something that's kind of like that. So it's about this mother named Harriet, and she lives in this farmhouse, and she's got this huge like toxic family of just kind of just redneck type people, and she owns a floral shop, and she just has this real simple life, and she thinks she's perfect, like she thinks she's so sweet and the most kind person, but she never realizes that she almost has like an ego about her. Like everyone thinks she's so sweet and she wouldn't ever like her to fly, but then like her issue is that she just never takes responsibility.
Yeah.
And she just, anytime anything goes wrong, it's their fault. I'm the perfect mother. I'm the perfect friend. Everything. I've got my shit together. So anyways, like
people have told her she's so great for so long that she actually believes it.
Yeah,
it really
basically.
isn't.
And it's just kind of like,
it's the shit don't stink.
I know people like that. That like they're so
into themselves,
sweet and nice up front, but like you know them and they're just like nasty people.
Yeah.
But they put on this facade of, you know, being sweet and liking people and all this shit, but they hate
and she
everybody.
wants to be genuine, but it's almost like she doesn't know what
genuine is.
Yeah, it's just like she feels like she's just obligated to be like sweet and kind all the time, but She has her own problems where she just constantly judges her siblings, and she just thinks that she's just the greatest. So anyway, she has a son, and her brother is an alcoholic who struggles with bipolar disorder. And then she has a sister who like doesn't really want to be a mother. She's got a kid, and her sister's like thinks she's like 20, but she's in her 40s, and she's like got those jeans with all the bling, and she's always like hanging out with teenagers, and she's just
I do too.
you know kind of like
Especially where I work now, like Clearwater Beach. I
like
see
that
all
white
day
trash
long.
type,
Yeah.
like that white trash type mom,
Yeah,
you know, that's like I don't give a fuck about my kids,
She's
you
still in
know.
high school.
Yeah,
She's
like
40
she
and
just
still in high school. And
Yeah,
she just wants to have
parties.
fun all the time.
probably
Yeah.
a grandmother
I
too.
feel you.
And
All
so
right.
she lives in the city, and she moved away from like the country and all that. And anyways, they meet up because Harriet's son is having a birthday party. So they all come to like this. She lives on this big property, and they always have like these cookouts and everything. And it normally results in like people getting drunk and arguing, blah blah blah, whatever. So all the kids are playing, and basically Adam, that's her brother, gets into an argument with the dad, and he gets on this tractor because they're arguing over how tall the grass is and just some bullshit like that.
Just
And
make sure you don't give too much away.
yeah, I don't want to give too much away.
Yeah,
I'm trying to like think of how I can
I mean,
start off the film.
You don't have to get too specific. It just just build up the just build up the little synopsis and just that's it.
Well, basically, he accidentally like kills Harriet's son because he gets drunk on a tractor and runs him over. And
kind of like the beginning to what is Pet Cemetery.
Yeah,
With
it's
the
like
truck,
that. I should have
semi-truck.
even.
That would freak me out forever.
God,
like
horrible
with
scene.
with the kid. Oh
Sneakers.
Yeah, with the.
oh my god.
Yeah.
That one just that was actually the beginning of me not liking things happen to kids.
Yeah.
That was the beginning. That
That's
literally.
typical. That's usually taboo, man. Like to kill a kid or
Yeah.
kill an animal.
Yeah, that's,
But I've been seeing it more lately.
yeah, it's weird. Like we're supposed to be like everyone's supposed to be like a little bit more
Yeah.
touchy now, but now they're just doing it freely.
I mean, I was thinking about like because I want to do like a really like gory. I don't want to just cut to black like when that happens. I kind of want to let it play out
Yeah.
and get all the reactions. But then I guess like the whole synopsis would be about like forgiveness and grief, and basically like the family kind of splits. They stop talking. Like it shows that like how the death in a family can kind of like split everyone apart. They start pointing fingers. She's like,
Yeah.
well, if you weren't drinking or if Dad didn't say something about the grass, like really. She blames everyone but herself, and she was the one who wasn't really paying attention to her kid in the first place.
Yeah, I know a lot of
Um,
parents like that.
And so then she takes in her sister's son for a while, and then she gets really overprotective. And then one day, like another kid just shows up in her house, and
Random kid.
yeah, he followed her nephew home from the bus stop, and he just starts coming around, and he ends up being like the neighbor's kid across the street, and he says that his parents are mean, and he wants to play there, and so she gets obsessed with her neighbors who she doesn't ever talk to, their kid, and it almost becomes kind of like an illegal type thing because it's like you can't have someone else's kid spending the night at your house when they don't fucking know where they're at, but his parents don't care. But it just becomes weird over time because like strange events start happening and stuff, and this kid kind of just rocks the whole family, but she won't let go of it. And so yeah, it's a little weird, but
Yeah.
I wanted to do something that creeps me out, and monsters and spiders and stuff don't really scare me. So I'm like, if anything scares me, it's creepy fucking kids. Like Sinister. Y'all have seen Sinister.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I just saw Sinister 2 the other day, and
Yeah.
that was fucking scary. Like I didn't want to get out of my car when I got home.
See, I didn't like the second one.
Yeah,
I think it unveiled a little too much.
Yeah, it was like a little. I feel like they showed the kids too much. Like they kind of just lost their.
I mean, the whole process.
I got a whole
like-
bunch of weird creepy kids in them.
Yeah.
The Omen, that's a good one.
Yeah, my brother, when he was growing up,
Shining.
looked exactly like the kid from Omen. Looked just like
Really?
him. Yeah, oh my god. When he
Never
grew
see
up,
The
he,
Omen.
oh my
Mm-mm.
god.
Watch that damn movie. The original Omen.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Actually, the remake wasn't bad, but the original is like
yeah,
it's pretty
creepy.
weird.
Yeah,
and creepy. Yeah. Oh, Damien.
yeah. That's what we used to call him.
Whenever I
around.
hear somebody like named Damien, that's all I think about. Is
Oh,
The
yeah.
Omen.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I can't. Like I said, kids. I can't. I mean, I can't deal with anything happening to kids. But I could see them as the killer. Like in Pet Cemetery when the kid comes back and he like, I forget what he says. not fair when he gets killed. Like I mean, the second time,
Yeah.
but he was just cute trying to stab people, and it was
Mhm.
No, when he cut his Achilles tendon.
yeah,
Holy
yeah,
mackerel.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like,
See, I can deal with kids being killers. I can't deal with them being hurt or killed.
Yeah, I understand that.
It's like I have this like weakness for kids. Like I just love kids so much. So it's just like
there's a movie called The Babysitter too about this little weird ass demon kid. That's a good one.
oh
Mhm.
no,
That's a real indie movie.
yeah. I don't know.
But cool. So what kind of budget are you trying? Like, how are you raising your budget? Are you?
So this is like kind of weird, but a lot of the locations have offered to let us use it for free in exchange for like advertising
Oh,
their
yeah.
businesses. And
Yeah.
there's a dairy farm. My aunt lives up in Troy, and I told her I was going to be filming, and if she knew anywhere, because I'm going to go up in July myself and make sure that my locations are locked. But I told her kind of what the movie is about, what the locations I needed, and she got half of them in a day. She found some
Nice.
dairy farm, and it was like it said private property, and knowing her, she just drove right through that shit. And she was driving on these people's property for like a mile, and then she sees this truck like pull up next to her, and they're like, "Can I help you?" And she's like, "Yeah, my niece is a filmmaker from Florida, and we want to use your farm." And he was like, "Oh, say no more." And he ended up like offering the entire dairy farm for like 2 weeks, and
wow.
he was like, "It," because he's trying to like,
That's a
I
cool
guess,
location.
bring attention to his, his
Yeah.
produce or
But
whatever he
see,
sells.
that's scary to do it in red states where everyone has a gun. I'm like
That too. I'm a little nervous because another thing is like I have people who are like part of like the LGBT community and stuff on board
Yeah.
with this, and like I know that they can be really, really traditional up
Yeah.
there, and I don't want I
Well-
need to go check it out myself before I
Yeah.
lock it in. I'm gonna make sure it's legit. But this guy apparently has a couple houses. Now, what's weird is that like his father or grandfather lived in one of the houses, died in the house, and then it's not.
you
It
should
hasn't
definitely
been-
make a movie about
That
this
sounds
guy.
like a Conjuring episode.
It-
yeah,
it's
make
creepy.
make this movie about this guy too. Make a movie up there. Make two
Right.
movies while you're
Well,
up
I
there.
was telling Zach about it. I was like, hey, well, we can go stay here, whatever. And he's like, are we gonna get fucking murdered?
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, let's go and see.
well, like I said, it does sound like the beginning of a horror
If you do
movie.
get murdered, film it.
Yeah, exactly.
What's that one movie where they're doing a documentary about the murder? How to make it's not How to Make a Murder. It's the guy then at the end of the movie, like during the movie, then he's like, okay, we're gonna kill you now because the people that are filming the documentary.
The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
That's a
I
cool
need to
movie.
watch. I don't. You should see that, Mace.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
good.
It's actually very entertaining.
They're making a documentary
real?
about
I don't think so.
the killer
Documentary?
and
Yeah,
yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, they're making a documentary about the killer. It's like how he chooses his victims and how he does it. He's like, yeah, I'm just spying on them, so so I can creep up them, turn the lights off, make the phone ring a couple
That
times.
was different.
But it was so weird. But then he just kills them. It's like awesome. But yeah, that does sound like the beginning of a horror movie. Like, yeah, oh, you want to use? Yeah, I'll let you
Yeah,
use my
dark
dairy
dairy.
farm.
Yeah, it's weird. I want to make sure that it's legitimate. But also, like, as far as funding goes, the reason I don't know if I want to go like the crowdfunding route isn't because like I'm not confident that I can make a couple thousand. It's that I feel like I don't know. Like when I did that with Triggered, I started seeing like some other like school shooting like short films being made, and I just kind of worry a little bit about the idea. But I feel like if I don't share kind of what it's about, people aren't going to be interested. They're not going to know like what they're putting money towards.
Yeah.
And then also, for some reason, someone started this rumor that I spent all the money on myself, because it went so quickly, which isn't true. I spent it all on
I
my
thought
crew.
you spent your own.
Well, it's your money.
I did. I spent most of my money on, most of it was my money that I earned over a couple of years, but the $2,500 that I made off the GoFundMe and from selling lines to people, that went towards like food and
Yeah.
and parking, like stuff like that. Like it wasn't like towards like the big budget,
Well,
but
that's part of the budget.
Yeah.
Whether it's
people don't understand.
I don't know who started that, honestly, and I was like, how would you even know
Well,
unless you're me?
Even if you did use that money, that's you funded it yourself. Like you have to recoup
myself
some.
back,
You
yeah.
got to recoup your
Yeah.
funds.
So are you going to do a pre, like before you shoot budget, like try to raise it, or are you going to try to raise it after?
So
Like what we typically
yeah.
do is we front our own money. We'll make the movie. Like
And you
The
raise it
difference
after.
is we have a formula. We already know how much we're going to raise in the GoFundMe. So we
Mhm.
just basically put the money up, and then cut a trailer.
Yeah.
Sell props and crap from the movie.
You could even
Yeah.
do a
And
budget
then
by
we do our
scene.
fundraiser afterwards.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You could do a budget by
scene.
scene and just basically then you'll get some rollover and then you'll be able to fund. Like
One
you let it
way-
keep rolling over.
When we were getting some of it, which is it's a crazy way, but my aunt is friends with a bar owner up there in Troy, and I didn't even know what this was, but there's like motorcycle rides that they do up there,
Yeah.
and she's friends with these motorcyclists, and she did this whole thing where she's made a deal with the bar people that she's gonna plan this, or she already did. It's like for August, I think. She planned this event to have this ride, and the motorcycles are basically gonna ride to different bars.
Mhm.
And like I guess for the film, they pay $20 to ride. They go to these different bars, and then all the drinks that they buy, 20% of that I guess is gonna go towards my film. And like she
That's
made
cool.
this whole business plan, and then she did this other thing where she knows these bands, and I don't even know if I'm going to use them, but she knows a lot of these like country bands because I do want to have country music in it. I'm
Yeah.
like not a huge country music fan,
Just
but
make sure you don't overpromise.
I know a couple
Yeah, I
of
don't wanna-
country people.
I don't want to overpromise anything, and that's
Yeah,
why I
definitely
was
don't
like.
overpromise.
But she said that she was going to do this like battle of the bands type thing, and she scheduled that too, where she like in
Those are
this
fun.
bar.
It sounds
And
like your
she's
aunt
like-
should be your executive producer.
I know she's never like.
You raise the money. I'll
Yeah.
make the movie.
Yeah.
And then like the
And she'll probably love it.
bands are gonna pay like $20 to play there, and then if I like them, I could use them. So I'm not saying I'm gonna use any of them. I had to tell her that I'm not gonna promise that I'm gonna use them, but
Yeah.
like.
You could use them in
yeah.
the credits. Use them in the
But
credits.
nothing
you could
happens
always
in
put
Troy,
in
so
credits.
when they hear that like there's gonna be a film there, like nothing ever fucking happens
Oh
there.
yeah.
They're all
probably
excited
about
for it.
sure.
I mean, I have people like
Mhm.
asking, like, "Hey, do you want to use my barber shop, or do you want to use
Right.
like?" They just want to put it out on the table. So it's kind of like it's almost like it's all just coming.
Yeah.
Come together.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah.
But I know there's a catch because I'm like, there's no way it's gonna be this easy.
Well, small
so,
towns
It's
just want to
never
promote.
easy.
Yeah, well,
Mm.
it's never easy.
Shit's
But-
Right.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
right.
But that's your job is to get
Mhm.
around that.
And some towns want to like promote tourism, so they probably need tourists too. So they're trying to find a way just to get their name out there. Or you can use the real city's name.
I might. She was talking to town hall a little bit too about.
I mean, you could change the state.
like-
You could say Troy, Michigan.
There
or
you
something.
go.
Like
I
you
mean-
change the city. I mean, the state.
I feel
But
like
if you
they'd
get-
want me to use the name if they're like
Yeah,
excited
probably.
about
Yeah.
it. Like I don't think they like have much of like an indie community
Oh, I
there
doubt
probably. So like to them, my cousins think I'm famous, which is it's hilarious, but they
That's
do.
good.
Hey, you've been on
Um,
this show. You had what 2,500 hits, I think.
But I guess when they don't ever hear about anyone being a film director or anything like that. They don't realize that that's something anyone could really do if they
No,
put
they
their
can't.
mind to it. So it's
You have
No,
like
an iPhone?
or
Yes.
not.
All right.
Well-
they really can't. Not everyone can do it. Trust me.
it's just a special people.
The
But
only
yeah,
thing, it's
well,
not
it's
even
mentally
about being
special too.
yeah, that's true.
To be a director, you just need to have. I was talking to Sean about it this morning. You just need to have drive and will.
Right.
And I know a ton of people that I knew a guy that had all this camera gear, cranes and cameras
Mhm.
and dollies, like everything you could think of to make a movie. Yeah, I'm gonna make a movie one day, and I mean it's been like 8 years.
Are you serious?
And
So he
never
just had
made
all
one.
that and never did he
Got
rent
all
it
this
out?
shit.
Like what did he do?
Yeah,
with
we
it?
used to use this stuff.
Yeah.
Like when we first started, me and Sean, he had a crane that we ended up using on a couple movies. But yeah, and Sean's like, why don't you ever make a movie? He's like, because I'm afraid it won't be good.
Yeah.
That's a terrible reason not to make a movie because
Yeah.
it's gonna suck.
Oh yeah,
Your
Oh, yeah.
first movie is not gonna be good.
Mhm.
probably first couple.
Once you get that in your head and just do it and get it through, go through it,
Yeah.
and then learn from it, then your second one will be way better.
Right. Right.
And then you just promise yourself you're going to get better each project.
Yeah,
Like
and
each
you
project,
do.
you learn
But
techniques.
there's so
and-
many people that just they have all the gear, they have the know-how, they have the they
Right.
just don't have the drive or will to do
Mhm.
it.
Yeah, I know a ton of
that's
people that wanted to try it and they
everything.
just quit. Like, and they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how
Yeah.
I'm doing it. Like, and they just quit.
Right.
I just
And just
feel
hearing
like-
Mace's story from Trigger, she should have quit probably like 20 times.
Well, one thing
Oh, she
that
did it.
happened recently, guys, was right after I was on your podcast. Do you guys work in Premiere or?
Yeah, I use it.
Yeah.
I hate Premiere.
So what
I
we
don't
did
like it either,
was
but I do.
I'm switching to DaVinci now
Yes!
because I'm like what we did was we shot most of it on the Sony A7, and
Yeah.
I didn't know shit. Like I still don't know shit, but I really didn't know shit. And we were replacing the SD cards, and you know that they're gonna have the same name.
The Sony
And-
starts over again. I
and
hate
it starts
that about
over and
that
starts
camera.
over and starts over. And for some reason, that didn't like it wasn't really an issue on my computer, and I think it was because I've been using it for years for this film, and so I was doing something right. But my mom needed the computer because of her job, and like just all this shit happened, and I had to move the film to Zach's, and also like I wasn't able to focus with my family, so we moved to the film to edit, like to do the and it's 2.5 hours, and when we plugged it in, everything's gone. Everything's fucking gone. And there's this thing like danger stripes. If you guys do you know what danger stripes are? It's when you have that clip there, but it lost the data for
Right. You can
when
see
it
the
starts.
thumbnail and there's nothing in it.
Or it starts at the wrong time, and so like a lot of those stripes, when I would play them, it would be like us with the slate. It would be the right clip, but the right time, and then it replaced almost every scene with the first thing named C001 or whatever, and the whole film was just so fucked. And Zach and I were like, "What is going on?" Because he shoots on a Black Magic, so he was like, "I don't get it." So we were researching, and I was just like. I'm like, I want to just like throw myself on the floor. I'm like, I've been working on this years. It's gone. I don't get it. Like, and then I thought maybe if I bring it home, it'll come back. And it forgot everything. It had me relocate everything. And then it kept, when I would find the footage, it would be the wrong clip. So I had to manually go through 2 hours and 35 minutes and redirect it. But since I was so disorganized with this production, I didn't have a lot of guidance throughout most of it. I had clips that were, like their folders aren't organized. Like nothing's organized. It's just a fucking mess. And so I had to go back.
The first thing I do is when we have a movie and I upload all the footage, I will take like an hour. It only takes an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Like just make your scenes. Scene 1 folder.
Right.
Put all the scene 1 footage in that folder. Scene 2. Put all the scene 2 in that folder. And it takes like an hour to do that, and it makes things so much easier.
And then.
That's the one thing I hate about the Sony is when you shoot on an SD card and you take that SD card out and put a new SD card, it starts back from 1.
I didn't know that.
And I was like, when I first saw that, because I used to use a Canon T3i, and it didn't do that. Like it just kept, the sequence. And when I saw that, it's such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
To have to, you literally have to rename the files.
Yeah.
Before you upload.
And then you have to go manually find them again. And then I was working with merged clips, which I didn't know was also a bad idea. And so I'm still like, I just fixed it like 2 days ago. I've been at Zach's house, like working on it, like as I go along, just relinking everything. A lot of the audio like got lost too. So even though the clips were there, it didn't play. And then some of the B-raw files weren't working. There was like red and black stripes. It was saying there were errors. And then when we first started doing this, like a month and a half ago, even before this happened, Triggered took 5 hours to load every time. So I'd get there at like 3. We'd be sitting there all throughout the night, like eating dinner. It was still like it wouldn't load, and we realized it was because Zach only had like 8 gigabytes of like RAM or whatever, and then my computer had like 180 somehow. Because I got it, like an editor built the computer for me. So
180 gigs of
it has
RAM?
like a ton of fucking RAM on it somehow. And I didn't know that until like we looked at the specs and everything, and I was like, wait, how the fuck does it have that much?
Here's the thing, like with Adobe, you have to have that much RAM.
Yeah, you have to have a certain amount of RAM.
But with DaVinci, you need VRAM. You need a high number of VRAM. So you need at least to do about 4K, you need about 11 gigabytes of VRAM, which come from the GPU. So when you're switching over, just be mindful of that, or it's going to be, it'll load fine, but it'll be choppy if you have less than that. Like when you try to play it back, so you have to you have to downgrade it to do the playback, but you can produce it in the 4K or 6K, whatever you want to do. But to view it or to load it in, you have to do 1080p to do it. Just because DaVinci is so graphics driven that you need a higher end GPU to run it clean, like to make it clean. So that's the difference between Adobe and DaVinci, is because DaVinci is all in one, where Adobe, you have to open up separate programs to
Yeah,
run
isn't
different.
doesn't DaVinci save the clips, or is that Avid? I feel like there's one of them that saves your clips where you don't have to, it doesn't have to pull from that drive. Like it will just keep it in the program, but then it runs so much more.
Yeah, it all stays in the
it
one
saves
program.
the file in the program.
It's in the program.
Oh yeah.
So it goes right into your
Take
timeline.
up a ton of space.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what I was
Well,
thinking.
like I said,
But now you have that file in a folder on your computer and
yeah.
in the software on your computer.
Well,
That's
it's
crazy.
not the full video file. It's the it's like, you know, in some programs they have like different like save files. It's not the same MP4.
Mhm.
They do it in their editing format.
Mhm.
So when you put it in their editing format, it's a little bit smaller. So it's formulated that way. It's not the actual full MP4.
And what program
Oh.
is that? So I don't have to use it.
That's DaVinci.
Oh, DaVinci saved the file
Well,
in the system.
But yeah, it's
In
saved, but it's not the actual MP4. It's a smaller file
Yeah,
format.
like a more
compressed
compressed,
Yeah,
file?
it's a compressed file form, so we can actually go
That
right
sounds
into
weird.
the timeline, and then you export it into the MP4.
Oh, okay.
So basically, you export it just like the other program I recommended you, Chris. It does the same thing in PDS form. I think it's called. It's .pds, and then you go to MP4 or MP3 or wherever you want to. Like, depends on where you're doing with it. You actually just export it or format it in that format that you're going to play it or record it or burn it.
Me.
Wow, it's technical
Very
talk.
non-techie.
Yeah.
I
I'm very
I
techy.
I think it's
to
worth
be a
it.
to be a DP and editor, like I feel stupid that I don't know a lot of this stuff,
Yeah.
but I get it done. I don't.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, you were using a Sony for so long that.
I was using Sony Vegas.
Yeah.
To edit with, and then I was forced to use Adobe Premiere.
Yeah.
Because I got a
Like
job.
most people.
Mhm.
I got like a 9 to 5 job. Well, it wasn't 9 to 5. It was like traveling all over the place doing video, but they used Adobe, so I had to learn it in like 3 days.
Yep.
And I've just been using it.
It
since.
crashes so much. I feel
Yeah.
like
It's
I feel like
horrible.
it's
That's why I
more
got rid of it.
for-
Every time there's an update, whenever Adobe
Yeah.
updates,
Yep.
I have so many problems.
Well, they
Yeah.
fix something and they break something else.
Right, and then I gotta
There's-
like it'll crash on me. I get errors, and then I gotta like update the driver,
Right.
and there's just all this.
There's
crap
another
you gotta do.
error right now in their newest version where for some reason with VRAW it's not compatible like with
Yeah,
merged clips.
Yep.
And that's something that they're like actively working on right now. But it's just so much. I think like if you're gonna use, it's good for like a beginner editor, and like if you're gonna be doing like maybe like YouTube videos or like commercials or like small things, but definitely not for a feature film. Like absolutely not.
Well,
Just all
they're
the shit in there.
trying to get more because B-Raw is like Blackmagic is doing so much formulation for their codecs
Yeah.
that Adobe is trying to get them back because everyone's leaving them because all the lower independent filmmakers are buying Blackmagics
Yeah.
and just going to DaVinci because
Well, the color technology is so much
Well,
better
well,
too.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfectly compatible. You don't have
But when
to.
you bought Blackmagic, you would get DaVinci for
Yeah,
free.
Exactly.
Like that's why.
Like Zach has
Exactly.
another like license that he's gonna give to me, and I'm gonna learn. I'm a pretty fast learner with stuff like that. I have to just like watch a tutorial once, and then I
Well,
pretty much
you're
have
definitely
it
not
down.
going to watch it once.
Like, it's
because
like-
there's so much
well, not
to it.
like
Like you got
once, but I
Fusion,
mean-
which is like
Yeah.
After Effects. Like that is just when you're dealing with nodes and
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
god, you need a whole course to learn
Yeah,
that thing.
for
It's-
sure.
Like I haven't used it. I haven't used it in so long because I haven't been doing any film projects. I've been doing this and just working like 90 hours a week. But I haven't filmed like anything. I'm literally trying to sell my actually
haven't done
Blackmagic
anything
cameras.
Really?
I have 2 of them. Yeah.
Mhm.
I just got my new camera and I've got nothing to shoot.
Yeah.
It's so sad.
I want to sell my 2 to get the 6K. That's my next camera.
Oh yeah, I think Zach just got one of those actually.
I think
I know he's got 2 Blackmagic.
because I know we were
cameras
talking
and
about the
stuff.
4K. We were talking about the 4K last time.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to the movie.
You don't like that.
How much are you trying to raise?
I have to do my budgeting because this is like the first time that I feel like I've been trying my best to organize because I know what could happen. So I don't like have a set number and I don't know what would be realistic.
Always have a contingency.
Yeah.
Always have a contingency fund.
I know that I'm gonna have to add like all the because I'm gonna pay people for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm gonna add all those rates. I don't like to try and negotiate rates that much because I feel like I don't want to sound like condescending, like, oh, your work isn't worth it. So I try and just say, hey, this is all I have. Like, do you want to work with me? Do you not?
Right.
Like, I just need to know. But I have one of the people that I'm working with suggested like he might take out like a loan because he's producing part of it. Which I don't want to go there because that's a really bad idea. And also like I don't want strings attached if things go wrong. But that's like just the last like backup plan. But I'm still like trying to push my way through it. I've got a savings account just for my films, so if I need to pull
like
from
under
that.
10K, under 5K.
Probably like I mean 10K if I could, because that's kind of what I did Triggered for like 15K, but this isn't gonna cost all that. Like I don't have to pay for locations, and a lot of the food I'm not gonna have to pay for either because a lot of the restaurants are gonna be donating to us.
Like,
so
just
really,
remember,
it's just rates.
the more days you shoot, the more money you gotta get.
Yeah, because you gotta pay more.
So me and Sean were talking
more
this
lodging,
morning.
more food.
Right. Me and Sean were talking this morning. We decided to do Naked Cannibal Campers 2. And we were talking this morning, and originally we were going to shoot it over 7 days, and we were going to rent an Airbnb out in Newport Richey near the camp, and just have like, we're trying to get some out of town actors or whatever. And, and a lot of people kind of live far from there, so we're just going to get an Airbnb to have everybody stay there. And then just go drive to the camp to shoot. And we figured it out today. If we cut it by one more day and shot it in 6 days instead of 7 days, that's going to save us over $1,000. Like, that's a lot of money.
It is, yeah.
It is. Our budget's probably going to be like maybe $6,000.
Yeah.
And to save $1,000 for shooting 1 day, one more day, like, that's huge.
Yeah, that's like
almost. So like I've told you, we got into this formula where we're trying to shoot movies in 5 or 6 days, and we've been doing it. I mean, they're hour 20-minute, hour 15-minute movies, but that's really how long they should be on our level. Nobody wants to sit there and watch an hour and a half, 2 hour movie.
That's what I'm trying to cut down
with
on
a $10,000 budget. Like, nobody wants to do that. So if you could keep it like hour 20, even an hour 30, you can probably pull off.
Yeah.
But if you can stay in that hour 20, hour 30-minute range, I think you
definitely
got a
don't
chance.
Want to go past that.
And definitely storyboard, so you're not going. Like after the fact, you're like, oh shit, we're short.
Like, make a shot list.
And if you want to go after the film festival route or distributor route or whatever, it's much easier to get a movie selected that's an hour and 20 minutes as opposed to a 2 hour movie.
Right.
Nobody's going to select a 2 hour movie. It's not going to happen. I've run 2 film festivals, and I wanted to show as many movies as possible because I hated telling a person, your movie didn't make it. But, you get 120 movies submitted, and you only have time to play 40 of them. Unfortunately, that's how it is.
Right.
And I would rather show 5 short movies than 1 feature.
Right.
So I would select anybody that was local got in automatically because that's the audience.
Yeah, the tickets
that's the people coming
you were talking about last time.
And then the next thing I would do is I would try to show like 3 to 4 features. I would do it over Friday, Saturday. Well, we would do it Friday night. We would have a premiere, like we'd show 2 movies, and then Saturday and Sunday all day. So I would take my 3 or 4 best features, didn't matter where they were from, put those in, and then fill it in with the rest would be shorts. And I would try to get as many shorts as I could in there because that's mostly what people submit to film festivals. And you would get, of the 120 movies I would say maybe 15 of them were features. Yeah. But I could only show 5. Right. Because of time. Yeah. They were bad or anything. It was just the time. So if I had 2 movies that I liked equally, and one was an hour 45 and one was an hour 20, guess which one's getting in? Yeah. To hour 20, because now I can show 3 more shorts in that extra 30, 40 minutes. Yeah.
What you could do is also like do a short film and then do an extended cut. So basically, you get basically 2 movies out of 1 movie.
Right.
So you could do like send in like the short film. And then after that, do an extended cut and do a full movie.
You can have a festival cut and
exactly.
I might do that for Triggered actually. The way I have it edited and it would suck because I would probably have to cut out some characters, but I could just
minor.
But here's the thing: the people watching that movie, they don't know. They don't know what you have.
Yeah.
So
They won't know
Like I
until
said,
the extended cut.
if you can cut that down to an hour and a half, you have a
I can
you
make
have a
2
chance.
movies out of it because like
Yeah.
it's focused on
Do a part
it's
one,
focused
part
on
two.
3 characters, and like I could easily just take out the scenes with the other characters because they never like meet really, and then just make 3 little like
Yeah, you can
So
do
the
it.
movie's
segments
the
here.
movie's like 2.5 hours. Is that how
yeah
long?
yeah
I mean, you could also cut that into like a 4 or 5 part series. You know, like do 45-minute.
I was thinking about that just because like the way I have it divided into chapters because I couldn't figure out how to make it like the time lapse and everything. It's throughout the whole like school year, and also the kids get older because they've been growing as we've been
Right,
filming
of
it.
course.
So I was like, I've been thinking about
Right,
it. Like if
please
it
do.
doesn't get anywhere, I'll just turn it into like a little segment thing. There's really a lot of different routes I can go with
Sure.
it.
I just think if
Yeah.
you can cut it down to an hour and a half, you have a way. I mean, your
Yeah.
chances of getting accepted to a film festival increased by like 1,000%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't see a film festival accepting a 2.5 hour movie.
Right.
I just don't think it's
Mhm.
going to happen.
Yeah.
You're just going to waste your money
hmm
because it's not cheap to submit to film festivals.
Right.
It's very cheap.
Yeah.
It's very expensive, and it sucks. You know, when I first started, I was like so gung ho about putting my movie in film festivals and all this stuff, and I dropped. I mean, I had a film festival in Orlando that I submitted to, dropped $50 and didn't get in.
Right.
And I'm just like, I was crushed. And
Yeah.
I'm like, shit, now my movie's not being seen and I'm out $50.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So when I ran my film festival, it was a $10 submission because I know how shitty it is to drop $50 and not get in. You know, I hated that feeling. So I don't want other filmmakers to feel. Now I'm like, oh, they're out $10, you know. But yeah, it sucks. So what is your goal to being a filmmaker? Like, are you trying to make money? Are you trying to just put stuff out there? Like, what's your goal? Like your new movie, what's your goal with
Yeah.
that?
I guess, well, right now my goal is to learn and to kind of learn the game here. And I think that I'm just trying to feel the whole thing out. I definitely want to make a career out of it. I don't talk about that much. My family thinks that's some bullshit. Like, you know, like they're like, you're going to have to find somewhere where you make money. But I like my ultimate goal would be I'd love to be a writer, producer for a platform, like a streaming platform. Like I don't want to say Netflix because I don't want to like work for Netflix, but somewhere like that, or help produce another streaming platform. Like I write so much that I feel like I would have to work on series.
I have 2 streaming platforms.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
I guess like
I could. I could
You
put.
should.
yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah, well, I
Let's
think
do it.
after you do the your rounds of festivals, I definitely.
Mhm.
I mean, it doesn't cost you anything to put it on there.
Right. The
Yeah.
reason I'm doing this one is because I want to learn the business side. I want to learn about licensing,
Yeah.
about talking to managers, to agents, about how to send emails. Like I'm just basically putting myself through another semester of film school, but the more technical side, I'm like that's why I chose a topic that I feel like has a bigger audience
Yeah.
and a genre with a bigger audience because I know like in film horror is like the biggest market.
On our
right?
level, horror
Mhm.
is the best way
Yeah.
to get anything picked up, make money. People see it.
With merch too, like stuff like
Because
that.
comedy,
People love it.
like comedy, is so hard, and drama is so hard because, in comedy and drama,
You need
you're
budgets.
relying on your performance, on the actor's performance.
Right.
And our level, we're not getting Tom Cruise and Jennifer Lawrence. We're
Yeah.
getting the girl that's never acted before,
Yeah.
or she's been in one thing in a commercial that with
Mhm.
no lines.
Mhm.
Like that's the people that we work with in our area on our level.
Mhm.
And not that it's a bad thing. Like people got to start somewhere.
Right.
So that's why it's so hard because horror movies, I mean, come on, let's face it, most of the acting in horror movies is really shitty. They
Like
rely
porn. It's like porn.
they rely on other aspects of the movie to carry it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is nothing like gore and nudity and
Yeah.
scary stuff. Like that's what drives a horror movie, not the performances for
Right.
Yeah.
I think the performances are secondary.
Our level, you go into movies. If you go into a movie by 10 minutes and you don't see anyone having sex, it's going to be a horror movie, indie horror movie. If you see people having sex, it's a porn. So it's basically the same thing. The
Yeah.
bad
Well,
acting.
Me and Sean have a formula for our movies. So every 10 minutes, we either have to show a pair of boobs or have someone die. Like that's the formula every 10 minutes.
Why not
Yeah.
both?
Because people don't want to see, or both. Exactly. People don't want to see people talking on a
Boobs.
bed or in a park for 20 minutes. I
Right,
mean, nobody
right.
wants to see that.
Right.
Especially in a horror movie. Horror
Yeah,
movies
yeah.
about gore and nudity. Unfortunately, it's just the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Since probably the mid 70s. Like that's kind of when it started. And then the 80s really brought it out. And I think there's obviously horror movies that don't have those elements, but they're, $1 million
I'll say
budgets.
this is more like, I guess my inspiration would be like The Shining or something like that. So not necessarily like horror, but like the thriller, the psychological aspect of it. Like I feel like I write drama and stuff better than comedy or horror, action, anything else. But I do like want to challenge myself with effects, and I've gotten some people on board that I really like their work, and like that's another thing that I was doing with Triggered. I wasn't looking at people's work as much, and I was just trusting that they knew what they were doing. And then we have like a really poorly made like blood with syrup, which you can do it, you can make it look good, but it would be like clear, like they just would have like a shitty formula for the blood, or like this everything like looks stupid, and like
here's the thing. If
we
you
had to
need-
reshoot it.
If you're talking to somebody, just ask me. I literally know everybody in this area, and I know I've worked with probably everybody at one point or another. So if you need advice, I will ask. Just ask me. Say, hey, do you know this person, or how is this person? 90% of the time, I'll know who it is and can give you an opinion.
Yeah.
I saw you talking to Carl Huber.
Yeah, that's I
Carl's the
love.
man.
He did my
I love
face
Carl.
mold. He did my
Yeah,
face.
he did.
He did my head.
Tony's face.
Oh,
He
really?
Did, yeah, he did
Yeah.
my head. Yeah.
Yeah, he's incredible.
But
I
yeah,
was
Carl's
really hoping. I was really hoping he would comment, and I'm really glad that he did, because
he's good.
he's affordable, and
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, if you're available. The only thing is that I've changed the dates to October, and he's like pretty booked in October because it's Halloween,
Yeah.
But I changed it so that like we're able to use him for like a week, and like you said, I mean, I'm sure I can shoot this in less days, but I was planning for all those days because I want to make sure that if we have to move things around, we have like some space there. But also, the catch would be I couldn't pay everyone every day. Like if you're not working that day, then like I'm not going to pay you for it.
Right.
You just have to be there for like, it's kind of like, I guess, a vacation also, in a way. Like I don't need everyone every day.
On dairy farm.
And I also need
Yeah,
I need
that's what we did on crazy. Like we were shooting other stuff, and I mean we lived in the cabin for the whole shoot.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't live with that.
the kids would go off and explore the little town we were in, and while we were shooting this other stuff that didn't involve
And
them.
I want a few days to like table read and practice. Like I just want to make sure that everything, when we start rolling, like everyone knows what they're doing. Like I feel like I just even wanted to just push that so much, and that just give people a few days to like get comfortable with the whole thing, like kind of explain what's going on. I am gonna have kids on set, which like I'm a little worried about, and it's like I have to like work on
emphasize
that.
the script.
Are those kids from here? Trekking up there?
One of them is I haven't cast. There's only like 2 or 3. There's 3 little kids that I need, and
Like how
the
old?
one that I'm working with, his name's Bryson John Steely. He was in Triggered, and he's excellent. He's 9. And
I
his
think
mom.
that's a good age. Like if you're talking like 5-6 year olds, that's like awful.
Yeah, he looks
I
younger.
think 9 is. I mean, you're getting to a point where
he's gonna play like a 7-year-old, but he looks younger. He's amazing. Like this is like the most like talented kid I've seen here locally. Like he's incredible, and his mom is great, and she's helping me like learn about paperwork with kids when you have them on set, like what you need to do, how long you can have them. But I might even, for like the main kid who doesn't really have to say much, he just has to kind of be there and be creepy. I have my cousin's son who's like 4, and I might even just get shots of him. Like there's just got to be ways that I can work around it, because I have to be so careful with that. And I think that's going to be my biggest challenge here, is making sure I don't break any rules, or if I do,
I see
like
you're
I
going
fix it.
SAG. Why are you doing SAG?
My main actress is
Oh,
SAG.
shoot.
Yeah. And
So everyone has to be SAG.
yeah, like Zach is really good at research, so he's really good at making sure that that's why
the kid thing with SAG is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Like it's
yeah.
very
That's why
difficult.
we're starting so early on shit, because we need to make sure that everything's good.
I think they can only work for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and then they need a break and all that, which is
Yeah.
actually okay because like it's not really about the kids. Like it's based around the kids, but they don't need to be in every scene.
Yeah.
And that's just really it's hard to direct them. Like Bryson like always knew what to do. Like I would tell him lines that weren't even in the script and he would memorize them because he's been doing it since he was 7. I was actually there on his first set and he just like blew me out of the water. Like he just memorized like an entire monologue and he loves it. Like it's not like one of those kids that's forced into acting. Like his mother said that he wanted to do it and she's gone like above and beyond, like driving him to different states or flying him out, and he's incredible. Like I truly see him going somewhere, and that's another reason I have him on board because there's no doubt in my mind that this kid's going to take off.
Well, the main thing that's going to cut out time is like make sure to emphasize the script with everyone and just make sure everyone knows it. So it's going to definitely save you a lot of time and money that way if you just be able to just cut through pretty much go through the entire script and just make sure everyone knows their lines. That's one of our, that's one of our
Yeah, I'm crazy. Like I told you, the kids, they went off for the day, around the town or whatever, and we had to shoot at night, and they came in, and we start shooting, and they're all fucking their lines up, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you guys were off all day. Like, you should have been running lines at some point, and I had to yell at them all. I got them all in a room and fucking ripped them.
Oh, you were daddy?
After that, and I'm pretty chill. Like, I'm usually pretty low key and chill, but I was not happy.
I think we need to bring somebody who is like a teacher or something that could be with the kids and like kind of just
you just need a good script supervisor.
A script supervisor?
Yeah, pretty much. Have them run lines and pretty much just emphasize like literally just beat them to death with it. You need like a Trunchbull from what's that movie? Matilda. You need one of those teachers. Like, do your lines.
Yes.
That's
for sure.
But definitely. Is the script complete yet, or is it?
It's not complete with like dialogue. It's just like I know exactly what I'm gonna write. Yeah, but like it's just I can't like just come up with it. Like I just have to be doing the most inconvenient thing for it to all just start coming in my head.
That's
I mean, it's just
like I'm writing a TV show right now. I have all my episodes plotted out. I just don't have. I have 2 episodes done.
Right.
But getting to 3 and 4 and 5, all the way up to 13.
Think of like when to fill time because like I know like I guess it's like really what I'm like.
Everybody struggles with that.
Stuck with is like I know the beginning, I know the end, I know the plot twist, I know the characters, but I'm trying to think of like comedic relief and other stuff that's like. But then I don't want to like derail from the story, but I still want to make sure that everything ties in.
But all that stuff's needed. Like I was telling Sean, I'm like I'm good at like. I'm good at putting stuff down on paper. Like I can get ideas and the main plot points and everything. I can get all that down on paper, but it's all the filler scenes, the dialogue-y scenes that carry the story through to the next plot point. And I struggle with that. Sean does too.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
that's probably why our movies are only.
He struggles with all dialogue. I think he struggles with all dialogue. He just like has conversations in his head. And he writes what's going on in his head, and the dialogue that's coming out is not like coherent at sometimes.
Have you heard of the Masterclass website?
Yeah.
I got it a couple weeks ago, and I'm learning a lot. Like I watched the Ron Howard one, which is Ron Howard teaches you how to direct or whatever, and I watched that with like 8 hours, and then I started watching the Spike Lee one.
Oh, I really wanted to see that.
And the Spike Lee is, more independent, and the way he started was kind of like the way we started. I'm learning. I've only watched like 3 or 4 episodes of that one, and I'm getting so much more out of that one than I am Ron Howard. And he said something that I was just kind of like, it like maybe like jerk back a little bit. So the way he writes is he gets index cards. And he will write all the dialogue and scenes and everything on the index cards.
That's how I write.
Do you?
Yeah.
So he said that he can take his index cards and move them back and forth wherever he wants. And then he handwrites his script. He doesn't even, I don't use a computer or typewriter. He says, I handwrite my scripts and then gives it to somebody to type it. But he was saying that when he writes dialogue, and I never even thought about this, it's so basic and bizarre. He said when you're writing dialogue, it's best to work with someone else because you're writing 3 characters.
You
Okay?
create a dialogue as you're doing it.
But you're creating, when you're writing by yourself, you got 3 people that you're writing for,
Yeah.
and they're all the same. Like you're writing, this person's the same as this person, this person's the same as this person. There's just dialogue. But he says, but if you think about it, when you're talking to 2 other people, each person has their own personality.
Yeah.
And to be able to get that different personality from another person while you're writing it, he says it's better to work with someone else to write because they're going to write based on their personality. You know? I mean, we're obviously not Quentin Tarantino or Kevin Smith here writing a script.
Right.
We're Mace Walker and Chris Lato, and we're obviously not at that level yet. If we ever will be, I think writing is a God-gifted talent.
Oh yeah, it is.
You can't really learn.
Yep.
I think you can get a little better, but I don't think you can be like a shitty writer and then become a master. I think you just got it or you don't.
Yep.
I feel like I don't have it, but I force myself to have it, and it's not good. Anyway,
well, because we think linear. People that actually write stories, they can go like this. They can think of like this going on at the same time as this. We think straight. We think linear, where it's just
how do I get from
point
A to point B?
Yeah, exactly. and they
do all kinds of.
They do
shit.
D to C.
That's how I am. Like I
detailed writing.
Yeah,
I'm more like that. Like I've been writing since I was a little kid. Like I used to win all these like writing competitions in elementary school, and like I've had a diary since I was like in the 9th grade, and it just got all kinds of like scripts and stories and just bullshit in it. And I just feel like dialogue comes really naturally. But then my problem is I overwrite, or I don't get to the point that like I don't think from that technical aspect. So I just think like this is interesting, and I want to show more of the personalities, and then we like never get to where we need to be. So that's like why Zach is such a help, because he'll go through it and he'll look at me and be like, okay, I got nothing. Like it will, he's really like, and I didn't like Zach for like the longest time at first. Cause like, I don't want to see this. I like Zach, but I didn't like when he would look at my shit. Cause he would tell me like how he really felt. And he didn't think anything of it. Cause he's just like that. Or he watched the first cut of Triggered, and he's like laughing throughout the whole thing. And then at the end, he's just sitting there like, and I was like, did you like it? And he goes, I'm sorry. He's like, I don't get it. And I'm like, what do you mean? And then he was like, well, why is Christy such a bitch? You didn't show that, or you didn't show her bridge. And I was just like, what do you mean? Like, I thought it was like the best thing ever. And then he like encouraged me to fill in those gaps by showing a character bridge and showing how she changed, why she acts the way she does. So he points out stuff that I don't even see. And then I wrote it, and he watches it, and he's like, oh my God, it's so much better. And that's because he says how he feels.
Because he's a good friend.
He is. No, he's like my best friend.
You're gonna show your movie to 100 people. 99 of them are gonna go like, "Oh my God, it's so good, Mace. I'm so proud of you." And then you're gonna have one person that tells you the truth.
Yeah.
And that's the person you listen to.
And he did, and I didn't even really know him, so I'm like, "Who the fuck are you?" Like coming at me, like,
sure.
I like still like I'll tell him an idea, and he'll either be like, "Oh my God, I love it, let's do it," and that's why like he's just so great to have around, because he's not that type of person that will like use you or then try to like, try and take creative control. Like he's always like got my back with everything. And so that's why I think I'm gonna work with him as long as I can, So he's
that's
always.
What I told you last time. Find somebody that you can make stuff with,
like you and Tony and
that's
Sean.
as passionate as you, and do stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, and you don't. And I told you before, like you don't need a ton of people on your set.
Right.
Like we made Zed's Dead with me, Sean. We had a script supervisor.
Yeah, I wasn't even on that.
And then we had a couple people here in and out. Like one person would be here one day and not the other day, and we'd have another person holding the boom pole.
Yeah, I think I did sound one day.
Recording audio. Like that was it. That's all we have, 4 people. And on our level, that what that's going to do is that's going to teach you how to be a director, a producer, a script supervisor, a wardrobe person, set designer. Like that's going to teach you all of those things by doing it yourself. Like I could probably go on a set, someone that I don't even know, and be their wardrobe person or be their set designer, just because I've done it on every movie I've ever made. I was not everyone, but most of them. We're the ones that decorated the set. We're the ones that did the lighting. We're the ones that did the audio. We're the ones that did everything. We did the editing. So that's just going to help you by keeping your crew low. One, it's going to be cheaper to make your movie. I don't know if I told you last time, but if you make a movie for over $10,000 or under
Yeah.
10,000 or over $1 million, you have a chance.
Yeah.
If it's over 10 grand, you have no
Mhm.
chance of making your money back.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, like the Kevin Smith days are over, where you can make a movie and be found. And
Yeah, there's too many
now
fish in the sea.
Miramax signed you to a contract, and you're making a movie for Miramax. That shit's over.
Yeah.
There's too many people making stuff.
Everyone has a movie.
Everybody's got a Everybody's got a camera right here.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's silly to make a movie on a phone, but
we did it.
Can
we did it?
We made a found footage movie.
Yeah.
But you can make a narrative film with a phone if you wanted to.
Yeah. The cameras nowadays on these phones,
it's ridiculous. Like the new iPhones are like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Cinema mode.
I don't know.
I don't even have an
use
iPhone. I see it and I'm just like, holy crap, that's incredible.
Yeah, I don't use iPhone. I can't do Apple.
But that all those things, just think of it, the more jobs you have, the more hats you wear, it's just going to help you learn how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And to be a director, I feel like you need to know every job
right.
on set. You need to know how to do it.
I think a good portion that a lot of people do neglect is the marketing. A lot of people neglect on the marketing aspect.
Well, that's the problem with our movies. Is, that's why it's best to keep it under 10 grand, because you can probably crowdfund and raise 10 grand. If you do it the right way, you could probably do that.
Right.
Should I see movies? This guy made his first movie. He's a film reviewer. Like, he buys DVDs and reviews the films. He's not even really that good. No, he's like, yeah, I saw this movie. It was pretty good. On to the next movie. Like, that was it. It's just like, okay, cool.
That's a spoiler-free review.
The guy has he's created a following for like 5 years, and he directed his first movie. The guy talks like Rain Man. He made his first movie. The guy raised like $80,000 to make this movie, and he was getting like Scout Taylor Compton, and he's got like some named people that who they are.
I love her. I love Scout.
You're just like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Like, how did he get $80,000 for his first movie? I can't even get 10.
Right.
But it can happen, and once you make your money back, then you're in the green. And even if you get a shitty distribution deal, okay,
like most people,
I made my money back. I didn't lose any money,
right?
And people are seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you take that approach, you'll be all right. But I wouldn't even say make a movie for 10 grand. Like, that's almost like cutting your throat.
Well, since you're not paying for locations, I think you're ahead of the ball now. So like, you don't have to. I don't think you have to do something so high. I think you could do it for. I mean, really depends on what your script is,
right?
But and how like detailed.
A lot of it's gonna go towards the set design, and then because I do like with Triggered, I would just find a location I liked. I would fuck with it a little bit, and then that's the set. Like this one, like I have an image in my mind of how I want it to look. Because with Triggered, it's more raw. It wasn't very cinematic. I just wanted it to look like you're like realistic, like how a kid's room would look. It's like a little messy. Like this is like more like art to me. Like I have the vision in my head. I kind of want to make sure that that's right. So that's why I'm getting an art team, and a lot of them are people that I went to school with, who were in the theater department or whatever. People who will do it for really cheap or free, that just want to be a part of something. And I'm very selective about people I work with, because I love all different kinds of people, but sometimes when you bring them together on a creative project, if you have different personalities, I don't want anyone to clash. So like, I'm bringing on very relaxed people who will like say sorry if something goes wrong, or like want to talk it out, because just when you have so many obnoxious like personalities or people who have egos or insecure, it's just, I mean, that was like with Trigger, we had so many people that were just so opposite, and I don't want that. So I think everyone that I'm bringing is going to get along really well, and a lot of the budget will go towards like Carl, because he needs to get all of the materials to do the gore and everything, but that's like what the movie, like that's what makes the movie. So like definitely want to make sure I have that money for all that stuff, and I'm glad that he's available.
And definitely try to do all of practical effects, all or majority. Because especially if you're just learning like Da Vinci or anything like that,
I feel like it looks more real
not done
too.
Well, it sucks.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's okay to
you have to pay an animator though. Like if you have to pay an animator, there's majority of
that's
your
a lot of
budget,
and it's probably gonna look like shit. Like in our Die Delta Pi, we had like subtle CGI. Like we burned a face on a grill, and when she hit the ground, like a little bit of smoke was coming off her face.
Yeah.
You know, little subtle
Well, yeah,
things
they
like
can
that.
do
It's
that
cool. Just
in
to
After
enhance.
Effects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had like a knife. We did like a giallo where the knife's coming into the frame, and there was like little blood, spurting
Splatter.
as it was coming up with spraying, but just real subtle. But,
Yeah.
I mean, most of it was practical, but just little subtle things to
Yeah.
enhance the practical effects is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's simple stuff.
So if you can, like I said, if you can get it achieved practically, do it practically because people also appreciate that a lot more. When they're
horror fans hate CGI.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Yeah.
So
They hate it.
so when they see like the practical effects used, like definitely do like a behind the scenes. If you could do that for like a DVD, even you could have somebody just filming with like a handheld.
I do want like some BTS because I don't have really much for my last film. Like I'm in like maybe 2 of the pictures out of thousands because I'm moving around so much. You just see like a little like ghost like figure. That's me in the background of. And I wish I would have gotten like
you can
more
even tell your
footage and
friends.
stuff.
You can even tell your friends just to take just videos of like.
That's what sucks on our sets is we always fuck up BTS.
Yeah.
I mean,
also
you don't think about it. You're so busy.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're all doing something, multiple things.
Yeah,
right?
it's like the last thing on your mind, but then you want to look back on it,
right.
You don't have that. So
definitely.
Yeah.
I'm trying to track my progress here, and I can't. I want to watch myself direct because sometimes like a little bit, like I saw a little bit of it when in the footage for Triggered when we weren't rolling yet, and some of it I was like, oh, I'm doing a good job, and others I'm like, why the fuck am I even here? Like, what am I saying? I don't know. When I was like 17, I said something on set where I told the extras if they don't do good in the next shot, then I'm not going to give them food. And I was like, and my script supervisor was like, oh my God, what's wrong
You were
with
a
her?
bitch.
And then like she pulled me aside. She's like, hey, people are here for free. You can't be saying you're not going to feed them. And they were like kids too. I was like, all right, well, if you don't do good, then I'm not giving you Wendy's. Or I was just like getting like really like.
I'm like, I'm telling your mom.
Right? Like it was just weird. And then other ones like I was assertive, but also I, was aware that people were volunteering mostly and that I can't be a fucking tyrant most of the time. So it's just all about being self-aware, I guess.
And just make sure you keep control of your set too,
and of yourself, like.
your set in general, because when you have so many people on set, you're gonna see a lot of like people trying to be chiefs, and just it's a lot of people.
Well, the one thing that I on one of my movies, Seeing Evil, we had a huge crew. Like we had I think $75,000, and we had a huge crew, and I'm sitting there looking around, and I'm like, half the fucking people aren't doing anything.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting around, and I'm just like, these people aren't even needed. Like, why are they here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why I always try to keep the crew small.
Right. It gets stressful.
There's
people get
too
in the
many
background.
people around, and we were shooting in a house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I got a first AC, second AC, 2 gaffers, 2 grips, a script supervisor, wardrobe, makeup. Like we just had all these people just standing around in this little room, and I was like, "This is not good."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? You're already halfway through the shoot, and you
can't just tell them to
can't
fuck
tell
off
them
or
to fire
anything.
them.
Yeah.
Right? So, after that was the movie that made me retire, and I hated that movie so bad being on set that I quit for 5 years, and then
wow.
And then Sean asked me to shoot. He had a movie he wanted to make and asked me to shoot it, and I said, "All right, I'll do it."
And it wasn't a bad movie. I didn't like the ending, but
that kind of got me back into wanting to do stuff. And
he came back.
Now I'm like, let's do something. And Sean's like, we gotta chill. I'm like, come on.
Right.
Now I'm the driving force, wanting to do stuff all the time. And
don't leave him to all the ideas for movies because
I know.
You'll end up with toilet.
Well, we just have this. Thing going, man. And I'm like, I literally think we can make 4 features a year.
Yeah.
And just keep pumping them out.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to what Tony said, marketing is like huge. It's huge.
That should be a good portion of your budget.
I think we've tapped Sean's following. Yeah. We've tapped that, and we can only we've hit our limit.
Yeah, you hit your ceiling. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's a huge market for the kind of movies we make, and we've only tapped like a small percentage of it.
Yeah.
And we need to figure out a way to market ourselves to get a bigger audience. It's. I've always said you can have the greatest movie ever made, but if nobody knows it's there, then what good is it?
Right.
Nobody's gonna see it.
Right.
So always keep your marketing and budget in mind because
marketing's huge.
Yeah. So especially when you're releasing this trigger too,
Yeah.
like make sure you have marketing in mind. Where you're going to market it, how you're going to market it. If you're having Blu-rays, DVDs, streaming, you just got to be able to just try to get the name out there, the movie poster out there, trailers out there.
Do you have like a website or anything? Or?
I have my own website, and then Triggered's trailer. There's a page for it on there, and then I have the trailer like on YouTube and stuff. But I mean, it's hard because again, it's like controversial, and just everything I'm gonna make is probably gonna be controversial, and it's difficult
People like
to get.
controversial.
Yeah, it is, but then there's like.
Here's the thing.
It's weird. It's
there's
gray
an audience
area.
for everything.
You're right.
Like
for
you
sure.
can have a guy licking people's elbows and someone will watch it.
Yeah.
Like, there's an audience for everything. And you're not going to make a movie that appeals to everyone. Like this fucking guy doesn't even like Quentin Tarantino. So I'm like, this guy's like one of the greatest directors ever.
I do like
and
Quentin.
he just doesn't like him. So obviously
he's got some good ones.
Everybody has different tastes, and you can't make a movie that's
right.
You can't try to appease everyone in the world. It's not going to happen.
Right.
But you're always going to have haters. You're going to have people that, oh, your movie sucks. And
Definitely.
other people are going to say, man, I love your movie. Like, I really.
And that's how the screening went, really. I mean, I had people that, there's no in between. Like, either people just straight up were like, no, not for me. And then I had other people that,
like that
really liked it a lot. But definitely, like, my style, I feel like I, like, take a little bit to build up to things. I always have, like, a hook in the beginning. But, like I love writing drama, and if you're not into drama, if you need something to be happening every second, like my shit's not gonna be for you,
Right.
But that's just, I try my best to keep it interesting, but I'm more about like the aesthetic and the weirdness and just creating an offset
there's
feeling.
There's an audience for that.
Yeah.
That's the thing, and you just got to find it.
More about the subtle things, I guess. Yeah.
You have to find.
I love the artsy type films,
but you can't.
Yeah,
you can't try to appeal to everybody, man. It's just not going to happen. It's going to drive you crazy.
Yeah.
Like if you start reading the comments on IMDb about your movie or YouTube or whatever, don't do that.
I had to turn off comments on our YouTube channel.
You're gonna drive yourself crazy.
I mean, I'm like that.
Why did this guy not like my movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he didn't like it.
I wish I wasn't like so insecure with stuff like that, because I have this like, I don't give a fuck what people think of me type attitude, and then I just say what I want. But then someone says something like, oh, that looks bad, and I'm immediately like thinking about it just consistently. I'm like, should I change it?
Don't get triggered. Don't get triggered.
You gotta have a thick skin and don't listen to people.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's just
I mean, it happens to everyone.
That's
in
the
entertainment industry. Everyone. So you just.
You know what movie I hate? Braveheart. I hate that freaking movie. I hate it.
I've never seen that.
People are like, oh man, how do you hate Braveheart? Because I don't like it. I think it sucks. I think it's boring.
Yeah.
It's not my type. I don't like medieval battle movies. Like, it's not my thing. Gladiator movies, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like westerns.
Yeah.
Because I don't like them. But there's a huge fan base of people that love westerns.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So
and
you just
movies,
gotta find your audience and then appeal to them. Like that's what me and Sean do. He's got a audience that loves gore and tits, and that's what we put in our movies.
And
that's what
and
they
actually
like.
evolve.
And they buy it.
Actually, you have to evolve and like add stuff and twist stuff around. I mean, Chris and Sean, they have one formula. They're not, but they're trying to add stuff to it. They're trying to, they're trying.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to improve.
But
all
we know what our people like.
Yeah.
You know, do we think our movies are like good? No, we don't. But
it's good to have that awareness.
But our audience does. Our audience
Yeah.
buys everything Sean puts out.
Yeah.
Right.
He's got a fan base, and whatever we put out, we can put some bullshit out and they'll buy it.
Which is what they're afraid
Sex
of.
Seance.
Yeah.
It's a bullshit. Like, it's
Oh my
bullshit.
God.
And people buy it. He's like, that's my top selling movie right now.
Wow.
And we're just like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
But whatever, we'll make more.
Mhm.
You know?
I mean,
are there other things that I want to do? Absolutely. But for now, we have our formula. We know what we're doing.
Yeah.
We know how much we're going to make on the movie already, and we just pump them out.
what they
and
need
we try
to
to
do,
make them fun. I mean, that's the thing, is that if you make it fun to watch and enjoyable, people are going to watch it.
Yeah. What they need to do is film two movies at once. One movie they want to make, and one movie they have to make to fund the other movies. So they need to do two movies at once to make it like.
I was writing the cheerleader sleepover slaughter, and it sounds goofy, but it actually kind of had some substance to it, and it was kind of cool, and I just couldn't get it together. But hopefully in the future it'll come together.
Yeah.
But
Is that the one with like the locker room and everything?
yeah, the one I needed, the locker
Yeah.
room, fell apart.
I mean, if we can come up with find someone to help us build a shower. I'll build a shower. I'll build a shower.
I've had people since I put it on the back burner. I've had people say, "Hey, I found you a locker room or whatever." So I can get the locker room, but there's just some other things that were kind of falling apart that were irking me. That I just kind of like, I need to put this away and do something different. So I did.
But like I said, if you find someone to build a shower, we can build it in the warehouse, and then we can just get it done. But I don't know how you want to build it. Yeah. I mean, there are shortcuts that I'm actually gonna, we can do, but you just got to find someone with talent to build it.
Right.
I mean, I could build anything, but I can't do plumbing. So we could just do a self-sustaining system of, I mean, like fountains, like the way to do fountains. You can do it something similar to that. But that's just something you could do if you wanted to come up with something. But it's a pain in the ass.
Of course.
It's a pain in the ass. Oh man.
Cool.
So when do you start? You said in October you wanted to do that?
Second week of October.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a little cooler up there, isn't it?
It is. I originally had it for September, but then like I want to get the fall leaves and everything, and that's the best time to go.
Sure.
And I kind of want the end of the movie to like not have any leaves, so it's creepy. Like if you guys have ever been up there, like when it's winter, like it's depressing as fuck, and it's really weird. It's got a weird vibe, and like none of the trees have leaves, and it's got this like fog, and it's just gray, and I want to film when it gets to that point, because September, like it's beautiful anyways, but it's all green and stuff, and I want to see a change. And also there's symbolism in the seasons, people look for that shit. So I think that's probably my best bet right there, and I'm glad that I already have it planned, because with Triggered I was like 2 days before filming, it's like, hey, you want to do this role? And I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that either. I love being spontaneous, but it's just with my ADHD and my organization, like I've a lack of that for sure.
However, it's good that you know how to do that, because on Naked Cannibal Campers, we show up to set and we had 3 main girls. One of them didn't show up. No call, no show. We're kind of like, what is going on? Like, you just talked to her yesterday.
Weird.
She didn't show up. Didn't hear from her the whole shoot. And luckily we found somebody to replace her in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
We had somebody on set
2 hours later
doing the scenes.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely a good skill to have. And always have crew members that know how to act, and you can just place them in.
That's a really good idea. I mean, I threw crew members in that didn't know how to act, but we made the scenes work. So.
Yeah. Sean's in every movie for a reason.
Yeah.
Because someone didn't show up, or somebody bailed, or whatever.
Well, that's how I ended up in Naked Cannibal Campers, because Jason.
Were you naked?
I was half naked.
Jason was supposed to be
my role.
Your role.
Yeah.
Right. And he had a shoot or something. He couldn't.
Yeah, so they threw me in like last
we
minute.
Got Tony, and we're like, hey, you want to be in it? He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So then, I mean, that was the day of. I mean, that was probably 2 weeks before.
Yeah, but it was still like I had to plan for work, and there was a lot of things.
I mean, Zach can improvise really well, and he'll just go on, and he makes everything funny. We use like other we use some of the extras' parents. Like one of them like played a teacher. And I mean, it didn't really matter. Like if the role isn't like if you're not really focused on performance, they're more like a prop, or they're there to make it make sense. And like it doesn't matter that much. And there are ways to like make people look like better actors with editing. Like I used a lot of candid shots and stuff of just them, when the camera's rolling, like making a certain expression or something like that. Like I have 2 scenes made just out of candid shots, and they're like one of them's like one of my favorite scenes, honestly. And
So Did I tell you about Bianca Barnett?
No.
So there was an article that came out like 3 months ago about a girl that's suing Marilyn Manson because she was his girlfriend, and he made her like do all this crazy stuff.
Heard
Did you read that?
Yeah.
Well, that girl was in our movie Die Die Delta Pi.
Oh.
And she was supposed to be like the face of our film. Like this was the first time. It was our 3rd movie together, and it was the first time we actually went out and tried to get a screen queen and flew her in and put her in a hotel and paid her and all this stuff. And she comes down. First day on set, she comes in. She was only there for the weekend. We had 80s scenes, and then we flash forward to now. And she was in the 80s stuff, which luckily she was only in like 3 days. So she comes on set, and we're filming, and she flubs her line. So I'm like, all right, let's restart. Start filming again, flubs her line again. Restart. Flubs her line again. We're like, I'm looking at Sean like, what the fuck is going on? So he's like, so she keeps screwing up. And I'm like, and the other girls that are amateur actors are all like blowing her away. And so we're like, what is happening? So we get to a point and Bianca goes, well, Sean told me I didn't need to know my lines that well. So I'm like, all right, let's take a break. So I took Sean in the back room. I go, did you tell her she didn't? He goes, why the hell would I tell her that? I'm like, I don't know, but I don't know what's going on. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
So we go back, we start shooting. We ended up holding the freaking script in front of her face so she could read her lines. That's how bad it was.
I had to do that with the actor that played the boyfriend, and one of the
girl's
things,
a
professional
actor that's been in all this stuff.
I didn't know that.
So we're like, what the hell is going on? So it ended up the next night. We were at Sean's house and we were shooting in the woods. He had a like across the street. He has woods and like this big sand pit clearing, and we were having this big toga scene. Like we had probably 30 people in the scene, all in togas and stuff.
That's amazing.
And the girls are a sorority, and they're initiating a girl and all this stuff. And Bianca was the lead of the sorority.
Yeah.
So we get to the point where, well, meanwhile, all day, she's not till the night stuff. So we're shooting stuff during the day, and she's fucking drinking all day long.
Oh my
And we're
God.
just kind of like, what is going on here? So we get to the scene at the end where she's in, and she has one line left, and she's done. And she couldn't say it right. And Sean corrected her like 3 times.
Can you share what the line was?
And she, Marissa, smack her on the ass 3 times. That was the line. She couldn't get it right. So Sean's directing her like 3 times. We stop. We got to start again and redo it. And she flips out. Like, flips out. You know what, Sean? I don't know what the fuck you want from me. I've been working on this stupid movie, and this is the worst movie I ever worked on, and all this shit. Well, our audio guy's still rolling through all of it. And it's actually, her rant is on, we just released a 10th anniversary, or I think it was a 10th anniversary edition or something, anyway, Blu-ray, and we put that on as a special feature, her blowing up on us. But
is it just the audio?
Yeah, it was just audio. I cut, unfortunately. I wish I had videoed the whole thing. But she went crazy on us. So we finally got her to say her last line, and she left. And then all this other shit happened after that. But anyway, I don't know what my point was to this, but we were talking about how you make an actress look good. Yeah, we held a script in front of her damn face.
Yeah.
While she read the lines. It was so bad.
Yeah.
It put a bad taste in our mouth. Because this girl was supposed to be like the face of our movie.
Yeah.
And we ended up burying her name in the credits because we didn't want anybody to know anything about this girl.
Yeah.
So what's funny is after we wrapped and we were talking about it that week we were finished, we were talking about it, and we were like, you know, what the fuck happened? Like, we did research and all this stuff. So we went on her IMDb. I'm like, she's got all these credits, right? So we started like really looking at her credits, and it was all like girl in bathroom, girl downstairs, girl at bar. She doesn't sound like
very committed, though.
She was like a girl that had no lines ever. Like her biggest role was some Showtime movie, and she wore like a mask and had no dialogue. Like she had this weird face and had no dialogue.
That's funny.
So I'm like, this girl can't deliver lines. Like, great. Wish we'd have known that before we casted her.
Yep. Yeah.
But
that'd be a good thing to do in research, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's what I did with the guy that played the boyfriend, Christy's boyfriend, and he was actually, I thought he was like 20, but he ended up being 32. And Christy, or Kaden, who played her, was like 15 at the time, and I had to figure out how to do like a sex scene without them touching each other. So it was basically like we were implying this was her first time she was losing her virginity, and his line was he was supposed to look into her eyes and say something like, I want you to feel everything you've never felt before. But what he kept saying was, Christy, I just want to go inside of you. And I was like, whoa, let's cut. And she's looking around, and she like looks at me, and she's like looks so uncomfortable. And her mom's like, and I was like, no, that's not the line. I was like, no, you're supposed to say, I
Her
want you to
mom
feel
was
everything.
there?
Yeah, it's like I want you to
Oh
feel everything
my
you've never
God.
felt before. And he's like, okay, got you. No, Mace, I got you. Like he would always interrupt me. He would never let me direct. He'd be like, no, I see what you mean. I got you. And he'd be so confident. And we start rolling again, and he gets to the point. And he goes, Christy, just let me go inside of you. And I was like, stop, bro. And then I start yelling. I'm upset. I'm like, come on, like it's not that hard. And then he's like, oh, I don't know why I said it. I'm so used to saying that. I'm like, what do you
Why
mean?
are
Like,
you what?
and we start going again. And then he says it again. He's like, just let me go in you. Just let me come in you. I'm like, dude, you know what? I was like, is this a joke? Like, I think he was like drinking or something also because he
Yeah.
came and he was wonky as fuck. And like the next day he brought some girl from like his hotel on set and he didn't remember her name. He said her name was like Ashley. And she's like, oh, my name's Caitlin. And he was like, oh, yeah. And she wasn't able to. Yeah, I remember like going in the elevator to pick him up from downstairs because we had like a key card because we were shooting in an office building and the door opens and he's got like one eyeball open, like some suitcases, and he's got this girl. And I'm like, who's this? Like, we're shooting during COVID. We can't just have random people. He goes, hey, man, it's good to see you again. This is Ashley. She's like, Caitlin. He's like, Caitlin. And then he's like, I met her last night. She's great. He stayed at the Don Cesar, and he called it the Don Caesar. And he's like, yeah, I booked it because it looked cool. It's called the Don Caesar. And we go upstairs, and I'm stuck with him because, like, I had him from the beginning, so I had to make him, like, look pretty good, you know. And he's a really good guy. I just think he's on something. We get upstairs and he's like, oh, can she be an extra? And I was like, no. And so he's like, sorry, you're gonna have to wait in the hallway. And he goes in the classroom and he looks at one of the girls who's like 16 or she was 15 and he goes, damn, why couldn't you play my girlfriend? And I'm like, okay, you know what? I was like, you go out in the hallway with Caitlin, Ashley, whatever her name is. I moved them around. I had him come back in. And then she's just out in the hallway. And Zach's like, who the fuck is that? And I was like, some girl that he brought with him. And then Zach went out and he's like, hey, you can't be here. And she's just like, what? Like, I met this. She's like, probably thinking, oh, I met this like hot guy last night. And he brings me onto some amateur film set. And then they kick me off. Like, that's just, it was such a weird situation.
You know what? I think you just need to like scrap all the movies and just write a book about that movie you made
BTS.
about Triggered.
I want to.
Just write about all the
funny.
stories because they're freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
Like I after your show, I picked my son up and we were going to like a toy show or something, and I had the podcast. We were listening to it, and he's just cracking up. Like the piano guy,
giving me a shirt with his face on
with
it.
the shirt.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm freaking laughing. Like it's so funny.
Yeah.
Like we've all had like weird shit happen on set, but
it's just like we
yours
always
is,
called
like,
it like the cursed set.
another level.
And like the lady that thought we were like the BLM group, and then she was like, I gave you water and you come on my property destroying it, and then the extra like vomited all over her yard. And then like I didn't know what to do. Like being me, I kind of got freaked out. So I'm like, ew, vomit. I just started running away. And everyone's like, you're the director and you're just leaving this girl vomiting in someone's yard. And I was like, that's right. I need to come back and stare at it and make sure she's okay. And then like as she's like still vomiting, we have one of my like stage dads who's like standing over like advertising the film like to the people bringing her water. He's like, oh yeah, here's my son. He's in Triggered. I'll show you the trailer. And she's just like, and then I'm like freaking out because I'm like, oh my god, like, are you actually sick? Do we have COVID? And Zach's like, oh, we need the waivers. Did we get the waivers signed? And everyone's like, dude, does she have COVID? Do we have COVID? And it was like such a mess. And I'm like, what the fuck do I do? Like I never like planned for
People
any
vomiting.
of these things
I don't think anybody
to happen.
planned for that.
No, and then it was fine, like, but then I forgot that she had like really bad anxiety, and that was her biggest fear was vomiting. And I was like, hey, my biggest fear was directing a movie by myself. We both, came over something, and she was a good sport about it. Yeah. But the next time she chose to come back on set and be an extra again, and we were filming like a vomiting scene.
She couldn't do it.
And she didn't realize that, and then she starts to have a panic attack in the classroom. She's like, oh my god. And I was like, oh, are you okay? And she's like, I need to step out. So she runs out and fucking collapses.
Oh,
and my stage dad, he comes over and he's like, oh my god, because his son was like one of the main characters, and he was like, oh my god, are you okay? Like, and she gets up, she's like, oh, I'm fine, I can't do vomit. So I left her out there for like the whole scene, and then I was like, oh, she could probably come back in. We are only getting like a few more inserts before we move on to the next thing. So she comes back in, we have the big Tupperware full of like fake vomit. And she's like, I can't look at it. And then I was like, oh my god. Like I felt really bad because like I feel like I wasn't like looking out for her as much. But it's like there's so much shit that I had to pay attention to or remember. It was just I lost my debit card on that set. I got my first parking ticket, which I saved. just all kinds of stuff. And I mean, it's just definitely a learning curve.
Sure.
But you don't prepare for stuff like that, like people getting sick or hurt or random people showing up on set just trying to kick you off, like stuff like that. It's just
Well, you're going to keep learning these as you keep going. Like every set, you're going to learn something new.
yeah,
Every day in and
definitely.
day out, you're going to just learn a technique or learn something stupid or like, why the fuck did that just happen? And
Yeah.
You're going to say that almost every day. Like, what
Yeah.
the fuck?
Yeah.
I think I heard Chris say it every day that I've known it when we were filming. Like, what
Every
the
day.
fuck is going on?
just so many weird things. We had like 2 kids from Full Sail that came when I first started filming. I was like, I had been filming this for like 2 months, and then my producer at the time who ended up like having that issue with like the law thing and all that. He came, he brought them on set, and he's like, these kids are gonna do great. They go to Full Sail, and they're gonna help film. And so one of them was gonna be camera B because we needed a camera guy that day, and I think that might have been Zach's first day with us, and so I was just getting to know Zach. But the one guy who was supposed to be filming it, we had texted, and he was like, "Yeah, I shoot on a Black Magic. I'm good with this. I'm good with dollies." And I was like, "Okay, so maybe he's like a senior about to graduate. He knows what we're doing." So he shows up, and then they're late because they got lost. And I guess the girl that he's with, he like has a crush on the Ava thing, so they're like kind of like flirting throughout the whole time. But they get there, and I'm like, "Oh my god, awesome!" So, and he's like, "Yeah, so where's the camera?" I'm like, "I thought you had the camera. Like you said you shoot on a Black Magic." He's like, "I shoot on a Black Magic. I don't own a Black Magic."
Oh my God.
And I'm like, "Well, what the fuck then?"
What does that mean?
And so I'm like, "Okay, I guess you guys can be like gaffers for today." And they were supposed to be like interning for me, which I felt weird because like I never done this before. These kids have been in college for film for years. So we get in the car, like I ended up riding with them, and we go to set, and we're getting along like really well. Like they're like, "Oh, I have ADHD too, and we like to do dramas," and like it was just going too good. But then when we get to the location, we're filming in this motel room. Basically, it's another after sex scene with Christy and some other dude who was like probably too old to be playing with her. But it was actually my DP that I threw in there to play the guy because the other guy ended up in Ocala. So it was already a shit show. And the one dude, the Full Sail guy, he like interrupts the scene, and he's like, "I'm sorry, he's like, "You're not feeling it, man." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "What's the mood here?" And I was like, "He's a pedophile and he's sleeping with this girl. Like, what do you mean? What's the mood?" And he was like, "Well, you're not like expressing like what's the feeling." I said, "Well, she feels like she's in love with him and he's just using her. Like, I don't get what you mean." And he's like, "I don't know, man. It's just like I'm not feeling it, bro." And so he was like giving me all this like terminology from Full Sail and all that shit. And I was like, "Look, I don't do your textbook bullshit. I don't know like what that means. I'm still learning." And he's like, "Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm connected. Like, what's the lighting here?" And I was like, "It's just dark, bro. It happens at night." Like, I get what he was saying, but it wasn't one of those aesthetic scenes. It was more about the dialogue. So the next location we're at, he and the girl are like kind of avoiding me, and I kind of don't need them at that point. And then they pulled me outside, and the guy looks like he's about to cry, and she started to like translate for him. Like, she's like, "He just feels like he's being like excluded from the set." And I'm like, "What? I just met you like 3 hours ago. Like, what?" And she was like, and he's this big, tall guy, and she's a little girl, is like shorter than me. And she's like, "Yeah, well, he really thought it was gonna be something else, and we really like you, but I don't think this is gonna work out." I'm like, "Are you breaking up with me? Like, what's going on?" I was like, "Well, I was like, well, let's work it out because I've already had so many people that I've burned bridges with, or vice versa, and I don't want this to happen." So I was like, "What's the deal?" And he's just like, "How do I say this? I just like, I don't know. Like, if I can't AD, I don't think this can be saved."
Oh my God.
And I was like, "Who are you? You've never read my script before. I don't know you. I don't know your last name. I don't even think I know your first name. And you're telling me that I can't be saved unless you're here as my AD?" And I was like, "I don't want to share like creative control. I have an AD and all that shit." And like we're outside for like half an hour, and then I just end up like almost fighting with these kids. I was like, "You know what? I'm done. Go back to Full Sail or whatever."
Yeah.
And it was just like it was weird.
I've
God.
met some Full Sail people.
And it was just like
They should be called full of themselves.
full of themselves.
Yeah.
And I mean, like it just ended so awkward because like I'm sure I was doing things wrong. Like I'm positive, but it was just weird because he's like, "I feel like you don't know your
It's
characters."
like you don't know me.
I'm like, "What do you mean I don't know them?"
It's not you, it's me.
It was so weird. Like just the way they're like, "I don't think it's gonna work out. We're gonna have to go back."
Wow.
But I'm like, "You're the one who said you were gonna film camera B, and you didn't even bring a fucking camera, and you're telling me that I don't know what I'm doing." Like,
I
it's
shoot
just-
on Black Magic. I don't own a black magic.
I mean, he never specified. We had so many like text conversations beforehand. I didn't think that was like something I'd have to ask. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like an actor showing up, like, oh, like I can act. I just didn't bring my skills today. It's like, what? Like, who does that?
Like
So
Bianca Barnett. Yes, I'm an actress, but I didn't even read the script.
Yep.
yeah.
Those are words. How do these words go
I'm talking to
together?
Sean. I'm like, this girl didn't even read the script. She may have glanced at it like once, but I mean, she had a freaking 2-hour plane ride here. Like,
Did you
at least
pay her?
read the line. Yeah, we paid her.
Do you think she did it for that? Like, I
don't
don't
know why she
understand
did it.
why anyone would. Like, normally you're working towards a bigger
I don't know
part,
why
so
she
why would
did
you
it.
just want to do background?
But she's been in like tons of stuff. She had stuff on Showtime. She had a
Mhm.
huge horror following,
Mm-hmm.
and we were like, this is the perfect person for our movie.
Yeah.
Like, because she'll promote it and blah blah. No,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
horrible,
Yeah.
horrible.
I still haven't seen that, so I have no idea. I don't have any input on her.
Probably better off.
I've heard that already. I heard negative reviews for that movie.
Nah, that was a fun movie.
But
She like
it was-
80s slashers.
Yeah,
It was fun.
good times. Well, with that, thank you everybody for joining us on the Killer Collab podcast. Once again, my name is Tony from Florida, Tony D. As always, joined with Chris Lato from Reaper Films. Yeah. And also returning, Mace Walker.
The first returning.
The first return, the return of
Yes.
the Mace Walker,
Right.
the second series. Thank you guys. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Make sure you get notified when we get put a new video out. Have a wonderful day.